Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in a future episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. So the first question for today comes from Rifles Forever, and it is, don't you think that it would be way easier to see how long it takes until a killed player can't be revived? Something like a fading revive icon so that you know how long you can charge your paddles. Yeah, I 100% agree with this idea, and I'm actually really surprised that DICE hasn't already implemented a system like this. Like, I can't tell you how many times I get into a room, I see a dead ally on the ground, I start to charge up the paddles to give him the gift of life, but then as I extend my arms to give him that warm embrace, his icon disappears at the last second, and if I'm playing anything other than rush defense, my team is now one step closer to losing that round. And it only makes sense for a mechanic that requires you to charge up the paddles to kind of give you an idea if you have enough time to actually charge up those paddles. Like, the fact that they changed the revive mechanic from their previous Battlefield games, it only makes sense to let you know if you have time to do so. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy. But not only that, when you enter a room where you have 3 dead allies on the ground, this would make it easier for you to have an informed decision on which ones you should revive first. Because currently, you just kinda revive them randomly and hope that you get all of them up, and you go for the final revive on the last guy, but you didn't realize that he actually died 5 seconds before all the others, and so his icon disappears in front of you. And if there was some sort of system in place, be it a fading icon or really any type of indicator that let us know when the revive icons were going to disappear, you could make the informed decision to revive that guy first and then go for the other 2 with a quick revive, and then all 3 of them are up and ready to go. This, in my opinion, has been a long time coming. I'm hoping that they implement this in a future patch, and maybe even in a future DLC. I hope it doesn't take that long to do so, but it's definitely a mechanic that needs to be in the game, at least in my opinion. The next question is, do you think that it would be a good idea to have a limited number of flares or at least a limiting factor to their number, like Battlefield 4 has with vehicle ammo? I think it would stop helicopters being quite so dominating and easier to take down if they got too greedy. I would actually kind of argue that that's already how things kind of work in Battlefield 4, because if you are in an attack helicopter or a scout chopper and you're way behind enemy lines and you're being really greedy trying to take everyone out on the ground, once you blow your first countermeasure, you're kind of a sitting duck at that point. Like, they increase the reload time of those countermeasures quite significantly compared to Battlefield 3, and so if you stay in there, you're eventually going to get shot down by either a Stinger missile or another helicopter is going to roll on in and just blow you up with his heat-seeking. And then, on top of that, as you said, they've also made changes to the way that the reload system works. So if you stay in the combat too long, eventually you're going to run out of ammo. Be it your gunner's going to run out of rounds, you're going to run out of rockets as the pilot themselves when you're in the attack chopper, and it's going to leave you even more exposed because now you have literally no way of taking out the people on the ground that are locking onto you with Stinger missiles, or if something is launched at you, you now also don't have a countermeasure. And so a good pilot is gonna get out of there eventually. Like, they need to recharge their countermeasures, they need to get back their ammo, and so they will go away from the fight, and they can't just dominate in one area indefinitely. And so I think that if they did change the system where they had a set amount of flares or countermeasures, or they made it so that it was like the reload system for ammo, it would push it a little bit too far. Like, vehicles are meant to be amazing. Like, they are meant to be very influential. It's kind of a resource that your team needs to manage, and if you have a certain vehicle that the enemy does not because it just blows up, your team should have an advantage at that point. It should be something that is kind of the keystone to help you push your team to victory. Like, that's kind of what vehicles are meant for. And so if you take too much away from them, it kind of detracts from that whole type of mentality and the way that DICE has kind of implemented vehicles into the game. You know, there are plenty of ways to take them out, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they are meant to be powerful, and I think this would just push it a little bit too far over the edge. So the next question comes from pretty much everyone, because I got like hundreds of messages in my inbox wanting to know my opinion about the new reload system. And so I was about to sit down. I was kind of thinking about, while I don't really like the new system, it does have its positives. It makes it so that you kind of have to conserve your rounds a little bit more. You kind of have to think about your engagements. It makes it so that the support class is a little bit more viable, and that teamwork aspect is enhanced a little bit more, and you have to rely on support players more. But then DICE went in and they fixed it. So now if you're playing on a normal server, it's just like it was in Battlefield 3, where if you just fire one shot, you reload, it's only going to take one round from your ammo pool. And I honestly think this is great. From playing hundreds of hours into Battlefield 3, and really just any modern first-person shooter, I consistently reload all the time. Like, if I'm not into a firefight, and I know I'm not going to be in a firefight for a while, I'm gonna reload. Like, I want those rounds so that if I round the corner and I see 2 or 3 guys, I have the ammunition to do so. And so for most people, this is probably phenomenal news. I know that when I first learned about it, I got all giddy, I got all excited, because I know that's just kind of how I like to play modern first-person shooters. But if you are someone who was disappointed by this and you liked that tactical goodness that came along with that reload system, you are in luck. It's not going away completely if you want to play on the hardcore servers. But for everyone else, if you play on normal, it is a good day to play Battlefield 4. Raymond P has the next question, and it is, I was wondering if you watched the US vs EU showdown on Friday night. If so, what are your impressions on the new design of Caspian Border? From the limited amount of gameplay that I've seen so far, I'd say that I'm fairly impressed by what I see. It looks like Caspian Border. It is in autumn, so it has some awesome fall colors, which looks amazing in the Frostbite 3 engine. But the overall geometry, the overall layout is exactly how it was in Battlefield 3, and I loved it in that game, so I think it's probably going to play out the same way, you know, in the DLC. There are some changes, though. It does look a little bit different. There is a massive prison wall extending through it, which is going to mix things up a bit. It is massive, by the way. Like, it is huge, and you can blow it up with Levolution. You can shoot some RPGs or a tank shell at it, and it will crumble to the ground. But probably the biggest change is that there is now a massive prison tower on the D capture point. I think you can go all the way up to the top with an elevator, but you can also bring it down. And when you do, it also changes up the level pretty significantly, where part of the tower kind of hinges on the hilltop itself, and then allows you a route down to the water. And so it gives you another route to either go up to D, so you don't have to go up the hills, you can just go up the innards of the tower itself, or you can go down to go capture the point that's near the forest. And so I personally like the direction that they're heading. I mean, it's got way more destruction and levolution than the Battlefield 3 version, and so I personally cannot wait to get my hands on it. But that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in a future episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.